All right, guys, welcome back to the John Hollywood Show. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. If you're coming back for another episode, welcome back. Today, my guest is Zach Sagay. I've had him on before. I had a recording issue, and now we're about to get this fucking money again. So I'm super excited to introduce Zach Sagay, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself. So,
hey, John, thank you so much for having me. I'm actually glad we get to do this again. I had so much fun last time. Like, why the hell not? I guess a little bit about me. Born in California, born in Los Angeles, raised out there. Avid sports enthusiast growing up, played all the sports, eventually made it to UC Davis playing college football out there. Then I began my life in San Francisco after that. So lived out in San Francisco for 6 years, managed restaurants, worked my ass off, probably worked a little too much. Got burnt out.
Man. You have to.
Yeah. It's sink or swim out there. It's nonstop, and especially restaurant management is quite the grind. But decided to move out here to Austin. Been out here ever since, got into real estate, personal training, sharing my passion in that realm. And I'm also getting my community yoga teacher certification. I should be certified next month. So I like wearing many hats, diversifying my skills. And I think they all tie into my one main purpose, which is kind of helping others see their inner light or helping others level up. That's like my juice. That's what I love.
Man, I am right there with you. I love seeing people move to that next level, like take that next step forward and really dive into stuff. So one thing that really hit me when I met you, I think you were like in the very beginning of your however many days of doing flips. I'm like, I don't know how to do a flip, period. And you're over here doing a flip every single day. And I'm like, this guy's warming up to do flips in the middle of the park. Like, what is going on right now? So how many days did you actually do flips in a row?
Okay, so the plan was, first it was 100 days. That was the plan. And then I got to 100 and I was like, fuck it, why not do a year? And so it ended up being,
like, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, it was like, I might as well keep going. And then I actually found out down the line, I ended up doing, I think it was like 380 days, because I posted on social media every single day. And there were times where I messed up the number just because it was like so repeated. And then I looked back to the first day that I did it, and I was like, well, I did more than 365.
Oops. It's only been over a year now.
Yeah.
Yo, that's awesome. So, personal training, real estate, really gathering a community. Like, how do you balance everything? Like, you've got to unlock something upstairs to really give enough energy to everything.
Well, in all honesty, I will say doing too much was something that I realized I was doing.
Okay.
And trying so many different things. I think I told you I had a knee injury. I had a pretty severe knee injury.
Yeah.
In December, it was bad. I was playing basketball and came down really. I was playing basketball like I was 22, and I'm not, 33, and came down really awkwardly, busted my knee. But that forced me to slow down and kind of take a look at things and realize that I was doing too much. I think that, there's balance is important, like you were saying. And I think I still like to do a lot, but I'm also trying to be cognizant of the amount of things that I'm doing.
So like I'm sure you run into like a normal person. I've definitely find myself doing that still, where I'm like, fuck, I have 1,000 things to do. And instead of focusing on like the end goal or focusing on one thing at a time, I'm focusing on like, I need to hit all these things at once because it has to get done, or I don't feel productive, or I'm like underneath this shadow of like not achieving the things that I need to get done. And it's like really taking a step back and being like, hey, I need to slow the fuck down right now.
Yeah.
Stuff that I'm doing, because what's the most important thing right this second for me to do? And are you the same way? Do you approach it similar, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, slowing down, it just made me realize that I had kind of normalized a stress state.
Yeah.
I had normalized what what that felt like, to the point where I didn't even realize that I was in a stress state. And I'd say the primary things that are suffering are my relationship, my ability to be fully present with people.
Yeah.
And then, just my brain's all over the place, you know? But I didn't really realize that until I was shaken from my path, you know? And I feel like that's in the past, that has been the best way for me to learn, you know, is when I'm taken from my path or derailed, that's when I'm able to regain my focus.
I know that you really got derailed with a knee injury. So it's really like you're running every day. You're probably running the fastest you ever run in your life. And then now,
that's the truth.
Like, hey, you got other shit you need to focus on.
Yeah, I had no choice. I literally had no choice. I was just about to run a 5-minute mile. I had my friend, he was going to pace me. I was down to 5:15 on my own. So I knew that I could do it with another person. Like our schedules didn't line up. And then the next week is when the knee injury happened. Boom. So, you know, but you know, you don't get to choose the lessons that life presents you with, you know, you don't get to choose those.
So I know another lesson that we have talked about before, and I really enjoyed this story when you had told me about it, was a lesson that you were pretty much pushed into again, where you got your first DWI. And do you mind telling, you know, the listeners about that story, or kind of diving into that a little bit more?
Well, I got two, right?
I know. Yeah.
Sometimes you need a couple lessons, but I mean, my first one, so I'd struggled with alcohol for quite some time, but there was part of me that I just wanted to, I didn't want to believe my body of evidence. I was focused on like a small sliver of hope that, you know, maybe my life, I could be successful with alcohol in my life, which is so illogical looking back upon it. It's just like, there's nothing to do with being successful or seeming normal because you put a substance into your body, you know? I think
but everybody else is doing it. All the guys on Mad Men are drinking scotch all the time. Like, those guys are rich.
Exactly. I mean, more than that, it was, I've said this before, that alcohol was my solution. You know, problems inside that I had no tools to handle, and I had been unwilling to deal with for many, many years. It was just like, problem, put it in the closet. Another problem, just keep putting that shit in the closet. And I mean, if you don't deal with your problems, it's going to manifest in other ways. They're going to escape in other ways, in other behaviors. And you're going to seek things that are going to make you feel better, or you think that are going to make you feel better. So I actually moved from San Francisco to Austin because I was burnt out as a restaurant manager. I got sober for a little bit, then came back here, got the job, the car, the girl, things were rolling again, started drinking again. And then I had my first knee injury. So when that happened, again, still no tools to handle life's challenges. What did I resort to? Drinking, you know? So I'm drinking after work. And one day I got wasted and was actually in a pretty bad car accident. I was hit by another drunk driver, ironically, and flipped my truck. I woke up in jail with bruises. The only thing I really remembered was being upside down in my truck.
You don't remember being in the hospital at all or anything like that? Or
I didn't go to the hospital. I wasn't injured that bad. I just had bruises. But you know, thankfully I didn't hurt anybody else or myself. The truck was totaled. It was done. But even then, there was still just a part of me that was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out my way, you know, without seeking assistance from others, really. I didn't put sobriety first. So again, same cycle, got the job back,
pushing it down,
just pushing it down, you know, and really just only trying to seek solutions inside of myself instead of reaching out to the many amazing people that are around me, and being open and honest with my family and friends about what was going on. And, you know, slowly and surely that same demise. And then I got pulled over again just about 4 years ago. And I truly think that was one of the best blessings of my life, because I wasn't that drunk. I honestly wasn't that drunk, but it was that I needed to be stopped. I needed to run into a wall, and that was that wall that made me just take a look back and stop and say, wow, this shit needs to change. Like, my book is not working. Nothing in my book is working, and I need help. I need help from other people, and I want to change.
That chapter is over. Time to rewrite it.
Yeah. So I mean, I am so grateful for that experience. My mom gave me some, like, a box of mementos, maybe about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and there was a DVD in there, and I popped the DVD on, and it was my arrest tape. I thought it was like a high school, you know, highlights, like football highlights or something like this, and it's my arrest tape. And
No way.
I kept repeating, you know, like, my life is over. I was saying to the officer, I'm a terrible man. I'm a terrible person. Like, I'm sorry for taking your time. It was just, that was how I felt about myself. Like, I really, really thought that I was a terrible, terrible person.
Well, it's like in that moment, from my experience on the other side, in that moment, people kind of, they dive into this place of, like, it's all over. Like, this is it. Especially when you have alcohol. Like, there's a substance that's controlling you. Like, it's literally, it made you think it was okay to drive. It made you think that you were good to go home. It made you think, like, man, I had such a good time. But it was really like, it's in control. It takes over. And then like, the second that, like I've seen so many times, being out there drinking and at work, the second that you have a substance that's over controlling you, happiness is around you. Anger, if it's around you, guess what? You're gonna fucking eat that up, just like the alcohol that you were drinking. So the second that you saw a little bit of disappointment in yourself, you're like, you know, all the way down. Like,
yeah.
And it's crazy that for you, it was that second time around that it had to be that impact, and it had to be that, you know what, this has to be it, or it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know. They define alcoholism and the behaviors associated with it as insanity. You know, doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. And I don't know if that moment, because I wasn't that drunk, there was just a lucid moment, you know. And it's odd, actually, because even before that, there were a few moments out drinking where I even when drunk, I would see myself, like, almost like an outer body experience, just watching my behavior and what I was doing, and questioning it. Like, are you having fun? Like, are you really having fun? Is this what you want to do?
That's like, I don't know if everybody has that feeling, or if everybody's had that feeling, but I know I've been there, and I've had a similar feeling to that, where it's like, I'm in the corner of the room looking at myself, really thinking, like, what am I doing here? Like, is it worth me being here? And, like, to really think out of body and being able to look back at yourself. I don't know if it's something weird, or maybe we're just strange, or it's, some other people that, but I've never really heard anybody describe a situation like that, like the out of body point of view. Like, that's absolutely crazy. I love that. That's like, that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of mistakes. It took a lot of mistakes and a lot of falling on my face and a lot of embarrassment. I'm a stubborn man. I'm a very stubborn individual. For me to finally realize, and for me to accept direction, and for me to yearn for the direction, and to want to learn, to really want
Yeah.
to learn and improve, because just being on that slow demise, and I think I've told you this, you know, my whole defense before was just being happy and positive with everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody ever thought that I had an issue. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I was the general manager of an awesome restaurant out in San Francisco, and it's nobody had any idea, you know, because I kept this armor up, and I think it's common in men, but I think I took it to the extreme where I showed there was no negativity. I didn't talk about anger or any sadness when that's all that was inside. That's
Yeah.
all that self-hatred,
Yeah.
self-loathing, sadness. That's all that was inside.
That's so crazy because a lot of from what I remember with California, and I know I grew up there for a little while. I've been back a few times, and like everybody wears their emotions out there. They wear it, and they're like, or they're a hater, or they're just trying to flex all the time, or it's like, I'm better than you. I got this, you don't have this. Like, that's the one thing that I remember about California. That's the one thing that really sticks out to me. And like, I love the state. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
My family's still there, but it's like
Yeah.
to be the exact opposite of that in that environment. Like, that's got to be fucking emotionally draining
Well, yeah. I
all the
mean,
time.
when you're putting on a mask every day, and I was an actor in my life. I was not a part of my life.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
was I was an actor in my life, and the director was trying to present this like happy flow that was all awesome, and oh, look at him, he's a manager, that's great. But the truth of it was that was not the reality of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that life has darkness, it has its down points, and they deserve to be honored and respected and acknowledged.
I love that.
Because we talked about that. If you don't shed light on that or acknowledge that side of your being, you're denying what it is to be quintessentially human, and it's going to manifest in other ways.
I
Trust
could
me, I
not
know.
agree more. Yeah. Yeah, you found them. They kind of poked their head out and they're red and blue
Yep.
lights.
Yep. Yep.
So, you said it's been 4 years since you've been sober.
Almost 4 years. Yeah.
Almost 4 years. So when's the anniversary date?
November 23rd.
Oh, you're almost there. Almost there.
Yes.
It's right around the
Yes.
corner. I'm sure
Yes.
it's like, I'm sure it's easy now. Like it's beyond like, do you ever see yourself like going back to even like having alcohol ever? Like,
It's just, I see absolutely no benefit at this
okay.
point being on the other side. It's just like, I have, let's see, when did I start drinking? 14. I have, 15, 16 years of
Yeah.
it not really doing anything. I mean, there were some fun times in high
Yeah.
school and college. I can't lie, but like on the overall scale of things, it would add no benefit to my life. And I think sobriety is the greatest gift that I ever gave myself and to my family and to the world.
Do you feel like, so when you were drinking, do you feel like the clouds are cleared now that you're sober? Like, do you feel like there is a different train of thinking then and a completely different train of thinking now? Like you've unlocked a different type of part of your head or your brain?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, when you're stuck in the loop of pleasure seeking behaviors,
Hmm.
um, your thought process goes a lot differently. Something bad happens, and immediately the in the past, something bad happens immediately. The thought is like, I don't want to feel this. What can I do to make myself not feel this? Drugs and alcohol. I
Push
meon,
that shit down.
well,
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
do this. It's not to say
Yeah.
that I don't do that now. I mean, catch
Yeah.
me eating some ice cream with some chocolate covered almonds, like, on a stressful day, but it's a lot less detrimental, and it's
Yeah.
not, I'd acknowledge the feeling,
Yeah.
I'm less likely to run away or try to avoid it because I've seen the other side.
Yeah.
Um, but it's amazing, like how much differently I think, than in the past. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things when you see someone get sober and you see this light switch on, and it's like their eyes open and they can see their inner goodness and they glow. I mean, I went to rehab after I got sober, and I was so amazed by that, seeing that in others and feeling it in myself, where you see someone like someone that's broken down, and then like I was broken down, but I presented a better mask to the world, you know. But to see that inner light shine and to see the realization, it's one of the most beautiful things in the world.
So I know a lot of people, in order to really dive into changing their life, they have to separate themselves from the people that they were around when they were in their
Hmm.
life. So are you able to still have those same friends? Did you have to completely get rid of those friends? Like, how did you dive into that? How did you really submerge yourself in like getting rid of that being an option? So until you became comfortable to be around that.
Yeah, well, in my particular case, a lot the heavy drinking and drug use was done in isolation. So
Really?
I didn't want anybody to see that. So nobody knew. So I have friends that drink, and I okay, I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't think that I have a ton of friends
Yeah.
because I was never vulnerable and open with them. That's how you truly connect with
Yeah.
another human being
Yeah.
and become friends, is by being open and honest. So thankfully I didn't have to change the people that I hung around. But what happened being sober is that you desire life more and you desire connection more. So then my circle, I get to meet all of these awesome people. I get to meet you. You know, I get to do so much more, and that
Mhm.
in and of itself is addicting and fulfilling.
Mhm.
Most importantly,
Mhm. And so you felt like do you feel like you were replacing alcohol with like personal energy, like more, like I know you said you expanded your friend group and your acquaintance group to kind of like mask the fact or kind of keep you busy so you weren't thinking about it, or do you?
well, I think the alcohol was used to fill an inner void,
Hmm.
you know. And when the alcohol was gone, I didn't have the alcohol. You do have to find fulfillment, and I think connection with others and being active and just doing being consistent, doing esteemable actions on a daily basis. I think that's what filled that hole,
Hmm.
you know. And that's what helped me see myself in a better light, you know. It's just doing little things too. And it's not like making all the money or doing anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's little things, you know. It's showing up when you say you're going to show up. It's answering the phone when someone calls you. It's
Yeah.
being there for a friend, you know.
Yeah.
It's not being stuck in here.
I, I couldn't agree with that more. So I'm gonna dive in a little bit more. So Sprint Squad, I
Yeah.
know a good amount about it. I've been there a few times. What's going on with Sprint Squad? I know that there's got to be a lot of people out there wondering.
Yes, I know. We're so bummed, especially now because I can run again. I just want to run with my people.
The energy
Um,
out there is unreal. Like it is unbelievable. I was so afraid the first time I went. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have a
what
little
were
bit
you
of
afraid
social.
of?
I have a little bit of social anxiety that a lot of people don't know about. But it's like
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Why am I out here? Why am I coming out here? But after the first time of going, I was like, the energy out here is like it's life changing. It's one of those like there's people out here, like you in particular, and Shay. I don't know if I pronounced his name wrong. Probably pronounced it
No,
wrong.
you got it.
But
Yeah, you got it.
you guys, like, you're just so welcoming, and the fact that like you two at the on the top of leading the whole thing, like just your energy is clearly affecting the hundreds of, I don't know how many people. I think I went out there, it was close to 1,000 people out there. It was like I can't see the end of the line. But like, what's going on with Sprint Squad? Tell me more.
Well, we're on a break, obviously, because of coronavirus. You know, the most important thing to us, and I'm still in talks with Shay. He's in Montana right now. But the primary mission of the group, when he founded it, was inclusivity and connectivity. And
Yeah.
we would not feel comfortable reintroducing it or bringing it back until everyone would feel included and be able to be connected. And giving 100 high fives at the end is important. And I don't know if we don't want to get sued.
So the whole reason I brought up Sprint Squad, because I know Shay is also sober, and I don't know his backstory on why he pursued sobriety, but it was like you two together have to be like, outside of my brother, have to be like the coolest sober guys that I've ever fucking met in my life, just because the energy you guys give off is super infectious, and it's like, it's nothing but love, and you could feel it.
Thank you.
It's so much love, and it's to be able to like really control and be like a huge motivator for people that hate to work out to want to come work out. Like that's pretty fucking unreal. And the fact that
honestly
grew with it is unbelievable.
You know, I don't know if you know this, but how we met each other was we actually used to work out at the same gym, but before we knew each other. Okay. I would be all hungover and I'd take a bunch of C4 and just work out, sit in the sauna, go to work,
down the
repeat the cycle.
Man. Yeah. I know it. Yeah.
But in rehab, Shay used to come and mentor some of the guys there. And I met him one day and asked him to mentor me. And that's how our relationship started. And I think the difference between that relationship and other relationships I'd had with other men my entire life was that from the very beginning, I was fully transparent. I was fully open and fully honest with him. And I told him things that I have done and that I wouldn't want to share with a dark creature in a dark cave.
Yeah.
These are things that you're like, I'm going to the grave with this.
Yeah.
But I shared with him, everything. And he accepted me. He treated me with love. And I think that's instrumental in forgiving yourself for the mistakes that you've made in your past.
So that, like, I want to go more into that. I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I'm a man. You are also a man. And I know there's a lot of men out there that are very afraid of being vulnerable to anybody, whether it's their wife, their girlfriend, their friends, anybody. And like, just to hear you say, and I would like for you to repeat it again, but like, you're saying that when you let it all out and you really dove in and committed to communicating, you felt better. Like,
well, literally it was like a life-changing moment. Like, we sat down and had a very long conversation where I basically went through everything, all the things in my life that I resent, all my fears. Like I said, the things that I had sworn to never tell another person. And I bared myself. I bared myself to this man that I didn't even know very well.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just trusted. He listened. And it was one of the most freeing moments, because it kind of clicked that I had been carrying all that shit around with me my entire life. So no wonder I had a poor image of myself, because I was just carrying all this stuff with me.
It's fucking heavy. It's heavy.
Yeah, I was just carrying. I was just carrying it around. It's like it's like one of those trains, with 50 million cars that you get behind when you're in a hurry. And all I had to do was pop open that switch and let them all go, and I could still be that front engine and continue to go forward at a much faster pace.
So I know you said you did it once. Do you still feel like that line of communication is consistently there? Like, you still communicate that? You still, like, when the backpack is on, you feel like it's full, do you let it out? Do you still let it out? Do you do that with your girlfriend, or you do that with your guy friends, or like, how do you approach that stuff?
So it's interesting you say that, because we had a conversation about this with my girlfriend today. I think I've become skilled at being vulnerable with many things, stuff like this.
Yeah.
I'll tell anybody, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there still is like there still are parts of me, you know, especially emotions and in a relationship that it takes a little bit more time for me to
Yeah.
open up, and that hasn't been my strength. And
Yeah.
what I realized is like me introducing this wall between me and my girlfriend is uh, it's it's subconscious conversation that says that I'm not worthy enough, which manifests in the behavior like that where I don't want to open up and be vulnerable. Um, so it's an ongoing process too. It's something that I have to continually look at, and I'm grateful to have a partner. Her name's Becky.
Hi, Becky.
Becky with the good hair is her LLC. She has that LLC.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
She's
gosh.
She's a hairstylist. It makes sense.
Oh, okay. That I didn't know if it was like she had insurance on her own hair or
No, no.
So like
Uh,
what you're talking about, I know it because like in my marriage, my first marriage, um, I was afraid to tell her things that had to do with work because I knew like
mm,
if I went to work, she would be afraid of what happened at work. And a lot of the people on here know what I do for work, and there's a lot of trauma that is seen on a day-to-day basis. It might not be every day, and it might be 10 times in a day. And it takes a certain amount of vulnerability for me to like, hey, Lydia, you know, I need to talk to you about this because, you
mm,
know, if I don't talk to you about this, then, you know, I'm going to be holding something in and you're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with John? But that way, my first marriage, I did not tell her anything. And I was like, it's better that she doesn't know. And then inevitably I was I was pushing things down by drinking. I was pushing things down by eating. I was pushing things down by trying to escape and go out and like get away from it. And I would like communication and hearing, like, I couldn't agree with communication more, and I couldn't agree with being vulnerable more. And there's
mm,
so many people that are like so stuck in like, no, it's better for me to not show weakness because I'm a fucking man. Like,
mm.
hey, bro, there's
You
some
know,
pretty
it was really
tough
cool
guys that are.
today. I was having a conversation with another friend about vulnerability, and she said that she struggles with the same thing. And her partner made a comment and she said, "Hey, whatever conversation you're having inside your head, I bet you it's a lot harder and a lot worse than if you just came over here and you open your mouth and you talked with me." It's so
It's
true.
so fucking true. Like, it's 1,000% true. And literally, at work, at home, with your friends, like, if you got something eating you, then just fucking talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't hold a conversation about it, then we both have some growing to do,
Mm-hmm.
to be real honest. And if it's
Yeah.
you that really can't hear it, or it's me that's misperceiving what you're saying back to me, then we both got some communicating that we need to work on.
Yeah.
And if you value our relationship, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep we're going to try and make it work.
Yeah.
So what is something that you're working on now outside of like business? And so I know you said yoga, like everybody's like, hey, Myers or John, you need to be a yoga instructor because your voice is amazing. Like, I would totally
Mm-hmm.
fall asleep to that. Isn't yoga about stretching? Not sleeping. So why yoga? Why are you going into yoga?
Well, that was one of the first gifts that I was given in sobriety and rehab. I was introduced to yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to think that yoga was just for beautiful women wearing, you know, tight leggings, and I didn't see any benefit for me or see what it could do for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I just remember the first time that I did it, and I slowed down, and I focused on my breath. I focused on movement. I just felt free. I felt free from my being mentally enslaved and being trapped in that brain of a jail, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I instantly knew that I wanted to give that back at some point, you know, and then I somehow stumbled upon an awesome program through the Amala Foundation. The focus is on being trauma informed as well as social justice. So the plan is to be a community yoga teacher. Like I don't really want to teach at a fancy studio. I want to bring yoga into underserved populations, and I think the first population I would like to attend to is men in the recovery community.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. I know you were doing a community workout, more of like a. Are you trying to build more off of that, just in the, like the recovery community? Would you want to do both, or would you really want to focus on because you can mentally connect more through yoga or disconnect through yoga?
Yeah.
In the
Well, I love teaching my class because it was a hybrid of many things. You know, we
mhm,
start off with some meditation, mobility work, exercise, and then we finish with like some breath work and some yoga, and then a chat about personal growth. So
mhm,
that model just kind of developed over time, and I think it would be awesome in a rehab center. You know, thinking of other places, even in jails or prisons down the line, that is definitely something that I'd like to do because I think um, a lot of people just have never had a chance to feel that silence in your brain, or they're uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. That's
yeah,
when you tell
yeah.
people like, "Do you ever meditate?" and they're like, "I can't stop thinking," and that's not what it is. You know, it's a lot more than that. It's just
Yeah,
finding. I had a teacher teach me that it's finding the space in between your thoughts, and I
yeah.
think that's where you can find some peace when it's not all bouncing around.
Really, like it's channeling your energy. It's really just slowing down. And uh, I know you brought up doing yoga in jails. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could do it at the county, and I don't know how far away you live from the jail, but it's like they have programs there, and you come in as a volunteer. So it's like it's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you wouldn't have to do it consistently. You wouldn't have to do it forever. It would just be like, hey, maybe I can make an impact this way. Maybe this would be my first step of it. If it's not in the recovery, maybe it's a different type of
Mm-hmm.
recovery you're searching to really connect with.
Mm-hmm.
I know you
Yeah.
brought it up as an option. Have you ever thought about like really diving into that field a little bit more?
Uh, I I think the reason you're saying bringing yoga into jails and prisons.
Yeah,
Well, the reason why I'm not diving fully into that yet is because I have some trauma on that end that I haven't healed from yet.
yeah,
Um, if I'm holding space for someone, I think it's important that I'm not also bringing my trauma into that space.
okay,
And so I'm still doing some inner work because of a traumatic experience that I had in San Francisco in jail once. So it's
do you mind talking about it, or are you like 100% against like going into
no,
that?
I feel comfortable sharing. I feel like I'm moving towards. I don't want to say getting past that trauma, but being able to turn that feeling into empowerment to be able to share with others. But anyways, yeah, I was in San Francisco. Uh, this was my second year in San Francisco, and I was on a date with a former 49ers cheerleader. I was on top of the world. We were having an amazing date. And I went outside to smoke a cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes now. Cigarettes are bad. But I went outside to smoke, and I saw a police officer being what I felt overly aggressive with another man, and I
Mhm.
asked him, "Is that necessary?" And he asked me to repeat myself, and I said the same thing, "Is that necessary?" And then I got arrested. Asked what I was being arrested for, and he said interfering with an investigation. So I got taken to jail. There was like it was a communal cell, and I had like one drink. I wasn't even drunk. Uh, and I sat up on the wall. There was like a little wall that blocked off the toilet, and I sat up on that wall. An officer came in and said, "Get down from that wall." Maybe like 3 or 4 hours later, without even thinking about it, just bored out of my mind, I hopped on that wall again. 6 officers rushed in, and I hopped right down. I put my hands up behind my head. I said, "I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. Please don't hurt me." And I just remembered it was a black officer in the front, and I was like, okay, he's gonna have my back. And he punched me right in my face, and they started punching and kicking me. They asked me if I felt like a man now, and at that point, I started fighting because there was 6 people dehumanizing me, kind of beating me up.
Yeah.
And they ripped my clothes off. I had those fake diamond earrings. They ripped those out and put me into one of the psych cells. It's like a padded cell. I was naked with like a blanket. And then I wasn't allowed to leave until I interviewed with a psychologist to make sure that I wasn't a threat to myself or to others. And I studied psychology at UC Davis. I had just graduated with a degree in psychology. So I was pissed. I was really, really angry. And, I spoke with a psychologist, and I was released shortly thereafter, and there were no charges. They pressed no charges on me. So it was just like, I don't know, I just felt like he wanted to teach me a lesson, and I suppressed that. I only told a few people about that. I just recently wrote a spoken word poem about that experience. And I was talking to my dad about it. He's like, "What? Like, why wouldn't you have told me that?" And why would I don't know why I didn't, but I think it kind of goes back to the way we were talking before. That was how I handled things, was just put it away,
Yeah. I mean, it's traumatic. For one, it could be a 100% life-changing experience. And the amount of trauma from that could be something that you never come back from. And the fact that it's from, voicing, not even interrupting or physically getting in the way of the officers on the street, and then being taken to jail, and then being extracted from a group holding cell, and then put in a room naked. Like, that's dehumanizing.
Yeah.
To be a man, and somebody's taking my clothes, and then now I have to sit in here, and like, I shouldn't even be here to begin with. And then, oh, you're free to go.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like,
yeah, that was, and it was weird. I hadn't really thought about the timeline, like when I really descended into heavier alcoholism. Like, like high school, blackout every once in a while, college, same thing. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
But that year, that happened. And then maybe 4 months later, my girlfriend cheated on me, and boom, like, started drinking every single night. That was, no tools to handle challenges of life. And that was my solution, because I was dehumanized. So I felt less than, it's hard not to feel less than when someone treats you like that.
Yeah.
And then, obviously taking personal what happened in my relationship at the time, do I think I can handle something like that now? Yes. Would I want to? Absolutely not. But looking back, it was like, wow, that's kind of I feel like a perfect formula to really dive into pleasure-seeking behaviors.
Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice? Like, okay, I know 10 years ago, I was in a fucked up place mentally. And then like 5 years ago, I was in a completely different place mentally. 2 years ago, I was in a completely different place mentally. And it's just seeing and looking back at those things, and like, when you feel like you really have no outlet in those moments, and then now, like, there's so many people I could talk to. There's so many people, like, if I have something eating me, somebody is going to want to listen and be like, hey man, just let it out. Like, let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk. Yeah. And it's like, if 20-year-old me, 18-year-old me, 17-year-old me really realized that, you know, I don't have to compare myself to other people to be happy. If I really focus on what's going to make me happy and really diving into what's going to make me happy, focusing on, hey, I don't really need that person to be around me because, like, we don't share the same energy, you know, because energy is a huge thing. So, like, looking back, I wish I could be that way, be this way then, but I know this is going to help that 18-year-old be like, you know what? Zach is right. Zach is right. Like, I don't have to sit there and, like, beat myself up over this shit. And maybe alcohol isn't the solution. Maybe the drugs behind the scene aren't the solution. Maybe, hey, you know what? I'm gonna hit Zach up. Hey, what's Zach's Instagram handle? Let me hit this dude up.
Do it, please. Please reach out to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think another thing too, it's whenever we get stuck in our own head, we feel it's easy to feel like you're burdening someone by unleashing or whatnot. But in reality, you're giving them an opportunity to be of service, which I think is one of the greatest gifts of being human. I think deep down, that's one of the most fulfilling things when you can show up on a heart-to-heart level for another person. That is so fulfilling. Everybody wins. Yeah. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Everyone.
So I heard this thing the other day. It was they did a survey. It was 100 people. They would walk. One of the you know, tests that they did was they would give a person $20. They would tell that person, hey, you could either use this $20 for yourself, or you could give this $20 to somebody else. And it was like they went and completed the survey. The people that felt the best were the ones that gave the money away. And it was because they, you know, it's like, man, that feels great to share like that. Like, I know it was free to me, but it felt so much better to really, like, who knows how much that person needed that $20 more than you did. And it was like the act of service, going back to the act of service, like being that ear for somebody to communicate, because the first line of communication is listening. Like, being that ear for somebody is it's huge. And leaving the option, and that's what I love to do on here for sure, is like, if you guys need to talk, if you need to say anything, I'm open. My line is always open. My DMs are always open. If you start sliding in there for some creepy shit, I'm not going to respond to you. But if you reach out and be like, hey man, I got, like, something's eating me and I need to talk about it, I would love to sit there and talk to you. I would love to have a phone call with you. I would love to video chat with you. Why not? And I know you're the same way. And it's 100%. Like, that's power. Like, it's the power to really help somebody and be there for somebody. And I fucking love that. But, you know, Zach, oh man, that time flew by, man. And thank you so much again for being on the show with me. And thank you for, you know, it doesn't, without a doubt, if I hit you up, you're like, yeah, man, let's chat. Let's fucking talk. We definitely need to get together. I'm happy to hear that you're running again. And I love the fact that you're out there just fucking sharing great energy with people. And I can't wait till you move your fitness class out as a Tuesday so I can actually go, because I work at the worst time on Tuesday, so I can't make your classes.
Yes. But
thank you so much. And I mean, any final words, anything else you want to, like, motivational thing you want to tell the listeners?
I just want to share a couple of things that I'm working on. So on my birthday, June 28th, 10 days from now, it's actually, I don't know, 10 days. It's a Sunday. Anyways, I'm walking 34 miles. Because of my knee injury, the doctor will not allow me to run, but they said I could walk. It's going to suck. It's going to take 12 hours or so. But I'm raising money for a friend of mine. His name is Anthony Evans. He was protesting peacefully in was accidentally shot with a rubber bullet that fractured his jaw. So I'm doing a fundraiser to help raise funds for him to help him get back on his feet. And then another thing, this is in its infancy, but I'm working with a few friends to help create more awareness around sobriety for Black and African American men, to create, basically, to make it more accessible. We've noticed it's a little bit of a tougher road, and we don't think that rehab should be a luxury. It shouldn't be somewhere you get to go if you're just rich, you know. Good, solid care and recovery like I got should be accessible to everyone. So that's in its infancy, but I just want to put it out there.
So what is the easiest way for them to find you? You Instagram, you have a website, you have
yeah, just Instagram, Zaquarius, Zacquarius.
Awesome. That's fucking great. And I'm excited to see the results of one, you know, this 34-mile walk, and, you know, fundraiser. And I'll get with you outside of here, and, you know, I'll show up, man. 34 miles. You can't do that shit alone. I'm out there. You were out there for my 30 for 30. So I'll be out there. I'll be out there for, how many miles did you run with me? I'm just going to go run 1 mile more than you.
I think it was 5.
Hell yeah, man. Let me know the details, and I can't wait to do it. And I'm super excited. Thank you again for coming on. And
thank you.
If you guys got anything from this episode, please like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. Let's talk. Like, there is so much that we could talk about and so much we could learn together. And Zach, it's been a blessing, and I hope you have a great night, brother.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you having me. Take care, brother.
Hell yeah.